Well, we are in the midst of a primary election, believe it or not. And one of the things I always like to talk about is how important down-the-ballot issues and candidates are. That, we always talk about, the glamour races. But then people come to me and they say, who should I vote for in the judge's race? Who should I vote for in the, regent's race? And that's generally what we talk about. City council seats are vitally important. Ray Spencer is a candidate for Las Vegas City Council Ward 6, and he joins us. It's been a while since you've been on with us, but it's good to have you with us. Give us a state of the race update as we are in the midst of early voting.
It's been a great race so far, Kevin. Right now, our campaign is working real hard. We're very, very pleased with our response from voters. I've been out knocking on a lot of doors and talking with a lot of people. And, I just retired last week. So now, when I'm out there, I got a lot more time and, just excited to actually be able to be so much more involved in the race now that I'm retired.
Well, and again, congratulations and thank you for your service. How many years?
So 25 years, just shy of 25 years in law enforcement, and it's been a great career. I'm going to miss working with, some of the best coworkers anybody could ever ask for, and it's just been a great experience. And I'm just ready now to be a full-time city council person.
You were endorsed by, I think, virtually all of the various police and public safety organizations. First of all, did that surprise you, considering your skill set and your background?
Obviously I was, very, very appreciative of the endorsement. The fact that, my colleagues recognize the work that I've done over the last several years and they've put their trust in me is just a huge, it's just huge. It means a lot to me. And I'm very, very excited that I got that endorsement. And it's like I tell people, I'm not the defund the police candidate. If you're someone who believes in the defund the police movement, I am definitely not the person for you. And I'm going to look for any potential ways where we can reduce violent crime in this city. And there's nobody else on this ballot that is more qualified than I am.
Again, Ray Spencer joining us, candidate for Las Vegas City Council Ward 6. For those that don't know the geography, where is Ward 6?
So Ward 6 is basically the northwest. So Centennial Hills, if you're up in Sky Canyon, Centennial Hills, the Costco up in the northwest at Decatur and 215. The boundaries are Decatur to the east, Lone Mountain to the south, goes all the way up on the west side, follows along US 95, but then it jumps over the freeway for Sky Canyon and Providence.
Tell me what people all across Ward 6, what are they telling you?
Well, the number one issue that comes up every time I talk to somebody is crime. And, you don't got to take my word for it. Look at your Ring doorbell app or, look on Nextdoor. You see it's everybody's concern. And it's not just the violent crime. It's the nuisance crimes, the package thefts, the car burglaries, things that affect all of our quality of life. And, these are things, when I'm on city council, part of fiscal affairs, people don't realize that 40% of Metro's budget is controlled by city council or city of Las Vegas. And you want someone who has that experience in public safety with that experience making those type of decisions. So that's number one. And the biggest issue, the next biggest issue, and anyone in the Northwest has probably heard me screaming lately from the top of my lungs about it, is what happened with the Dotties up here in Providence. And if you're not familiar with it, back in February 8th, my competitor approved the Dotties that's going in at the intersection of Hualapai and Elkhorn. And more than 300 people protested against that Dotties, and it was approved. And 14 days later, he received a campaign contribution from the developer of the Dotties. And that will never happen with me as a city council person. It just infuriates me. And, we need people at city council that are going to listen to voters, and that's why I'm running.
I know one thing that you have preached from the stump and at your website, and that is responsible growth. There's always a push-pull when it comes to growth. There are people that say we don't want any growth. And then there are people that say, hey, in order to increase the tax base, we need growth. But you promote responsible growth. Define responsible growth.
Well, I mean, at some point you got to start asking questions as far as the water in this valley. If you go out to the lake, and a couple weeks ago I had a pretty high-profile case out at the lake that we were working, and unless you're out there and you actually see it, it doesn't sink in. I mean, when you look at the water level that Lake Mead is dropping, you got to start asking some questions on how long can this keep growing and going and going. We got to be very mindful of the developments that we're building and our path looking forward for growth. And as a city council person, I'm going to ask those tough, difficult questions before we approve any project.
I know we always talk about, and I'll be honest with you, I talk to a lot of people both on the air and off the air over the course of a given week or a month. And the one thing I hear about is people are concerned about education. Is there a city role at all for a city councilman to be talking about education? And if so, what would you say about education and how we fix it?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm frustrated. I'm raising two boys that both go to middle school here in the Northwest, in a public middle school. And, the classrooms are jam-packed. There's not enough teachers. There's so many problems with our education system. And granted, as a city council person, you don't have control over a lot of those issues. But one thing I will tell you is I'm definitely going to be an advocate for parents, just as much as, I'm a parent raising my kids and family here as well. So working with groups like Power to Parent and any other ways that we can improve our schools in Ward 6, I'm always going to be an advocate for education and keeping our schools safe.
Do you have any thoughts, though? I'm just curious. There's been a lot of talk about breaking up the fifth largest school district in the country and essentially cutting it down to size, so to speak. Do you have any thoughts on things we can do, and maybe that's one of them, to make our schools better, to make sure we're not 50 out of 50?
Yeah, that's definitely a good starting point. Is it too big of a bureaucracy? And I do think this school district is too large, that there is some good room to explore those options as far as breaking up the school district. Now, you could look at it both sides. You don't want to make, haves and have-nots, but you also have to look at any ways that we can improve at our school level. And right now, that's definitely one thing that I think should be looked at, is breaking up the Clark County School District.
And the other thing that people talk to me about, and that is that we need some sort of forensic audit of our school district and find out where the money is actually going, how much of it's staying in the classroom, how much of it's going to other sources around the school district, but not in the classroom. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, I know a lot of teachers, and I'll tell you, the teachers in these classrooms work very, very hard and not enough pay. And you look at that and the work that they're doing, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But I think the biggest thing, when you look at is we need more teachers. And it's hard right now. There's a shortage of teachers. There's a shortage of school bus drivers. They're just having problems getting people in the door. Seems to be the biggest issue right now at the school level.
Let me ask you, we are in the midst of the election itself. This is the weird, odd part where we end up having, where, believe it or not, we have voting going on. Even as you and I are speaking, there is voting going on with the mail-in ballots. First of all, do you like the idea of the mail-in ballots, or is that something, as somebody who's in the arena, that you think is going to end up ultimately hurting you?
Here's my big concern with the mail-in ballots, and I have not received my mail-in ballot yet.
Oh, you
my
haven't?
Mom hasn't. No,
oh,
and
wow.
My mom hasn't received her mail-in ballot. So, I'm a fan of you need to go in and you should vote in person. We have there's too many questions, there's too many problems with mail-in ballots. I would prefer that all voting is done in person. But I do have to ask. Like I said, here we are into early voting, and I still haven't received my mail-in ballot.
Isn't that wild? Well, I got mine late last week, probably Thursday or Friday of last week. I haven't done anything with it because I'm like you. I want to vote on Election Day, or go to the polls and early vote that way. But go someplace and actually cast a ballot rather than mailing it in. Because not that I don't trust them, but I don't trust them.
Well, listen, how many times have you mailed something and it never got sent, or it never got to the receiver? So I'm a big fan of voting in person.
I can't blame you. And you talk about the U.S. Postal Service. I know that's not a city issue, but yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. And I'll bet you I've had 4 pieces of mail in the last year that haven't gotten to the destination. 4.
Yeah, and I just had my mailbox broken into 3 weeks ago. So, we just got a new mailbox. So that's scary in itself. So a lot of things need to be tightened up.
Ray, let me give you the final 90 seconds, and I'll let you take as much of it as you want as to why you are the answer in Ward 6.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a different candidate because I'm not connected to special interests. Right, I'm running because I'm raising my family here, and I want Las Vegas to be a safer and better community. And, you look at things as far as why people get into public office. I always think that they're always looking for their next jump or their next step. My only interest is to be a city council person so I can improve the quality of life for my neighbors. And I kind of simplify it. People ask me, it's going to be very difficult. And I don't think it's a difficult job, because all you really have to do is listen to voters and represent them and be honest and tell people, the truth. And if you do those things, being a city council person is very, very easy. And that's the type of city council person that I'm going to be. At the end of my 4-year term, everybody who voted for me is going to sit back and they're going to say that I did a very good job. I represented them, and they will all be proud of the job that I do. And that's why I'm running.
Ray, simply put, was there something, a linchpin that went off, or that told you to get into this race? What is it that actually got you into the race?
Never thought I would be running for city council. The last couple of years, I've been frustrated. You see a lot of things going on in the country and a lot of the anti-police movement that was happening. And I basically was complaining about it. And my wife said, stop complaining and do something. And that's kind of was my trigger point right there. I said, look, I think I can do it better than anybody else. And that's why I jumped in. And it was probably, I can tell you the date. It was October 20th when I made the decision that I was going to jump into the race.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're in the race. We need good people, and you are a guy that has a skill set that is just screaming, elect me, elect me. Very quickly, I know we're in the sprint to the finish line. What is it you still need? Do you need money? Do you need volunteers? Do you need people to walk neighborhoods, door knock? What?
We need all of that. Obviously, these races are expensive. If you'd like to make a donation, please go to electrayspencer.com. And all of those donations, the one thing I'm very proud of is I have hundreds of individuals that have made $25, $50, $100 donations, and all of those add up, and it's been very, very beneficial. And if you're willing to support me, please go to the website. You can also call me. My number is 702-419-1301, and that's my cell phone number, and you can reach out to me if you're willing to help and support by knocking on doors or making phone calls as well.
Ray Spencer, always good to get with you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of the way. Be safe out there on the campaign trail, okay?
Great. Thanks for having me, Kevin. You take care.
There you go. Ray Spencer, good guy and a candidate for Las Vegas City Council, Ward 6. Stay where you are. More to do as we continue on AM 670 KMZQ.